Welcome to the Budget Mom YouTube channel. I'm Kumiko Love from thebudgetmom.com, and today we are going to be going over something that I have used on my financial journey since the very beginning. So I've been using visual trackers for over 8 years, and I absolutely love them for many different reasons. So what are the reasons that you should be utilizing these visual trackers in your life? Well, visual trackers can be used for savings goals, debt goals. So when I was on my debt-free journey, I used to keep up visual trackers of my debt progress on a board in my office or near my budget station. Using visual trackers is very motivating. So let me ask you this, have you ever made a debt payment or multiple or many debt payments and kind of feel like your debt payments or the actions you are taking to reach a goal are just little itty bitty drops in a very big bucket? One of the reasons I like using visual trackers in my life is because it allows me to see my progress even when I feel like I'm not making any. So one of the perfect examples is, for quite a while, I was working on saving up to get chickens here at the house. And I knew that I wanted my goal to be $1,000, but I didn't want this goal to be like a really huge, significant hit to my cash flow or my budget. So what I decided to do was, just to kind of ease some of that excitement that I had around getting and wanting to get chickens, I said, okay, I'm going to put $10 every paycheck into this savings account. And if I have extra money, then I'm going to throw it in there as well. It took me a while, and let me tell you, $10 to reach a $1,000 goal really feels like you're working at a snail's pace. But being able to color in on my visual tracker every time I made that $10 contribution is very motivating. Another great thing about using the visual trackers is being able to keep them. It's very uplifting and it really boosts your financial confidence because you're able to look back and say, okay, look at my visual trackers. I've accomplished all of these things. I know I can accomplish whatever I'm facing now or in the future. It's really awesome to keep all of your visual trackers and be able to look back at all the things that you have done and all the progress along the way. So we use them for motivation. We use them to kind of boost our financial confidence when we're kind of feeling like we're not capable and we're kind of feeling down about our financial goals. Another thing for me that I used them for was it made my journey fun. I'm a very creative, artsy type of person, so being able to use, say, like all these markers and coloring and using all the fun, and I'm gonna be showing some different trackers today, all the fun trackers on my journey made my journey exciting. It made me fun. It made it fun. It gave me something to look forward to. That was another reason that I really like using the visual trackers. So today, I want to go over how to use them and fill them out because I have a ton of visual financial trackers in my free resource library, up in the TBM shop, throughout some of my free programs. And so I want to make sure that you are filling them out and coloring them in a way that works best for you, and to show you kind of one of the big questions I get is, Miko, how do you fill out the debt tracker when you're accounting for interest? How does interest, when you're paying off debt, tie into using visual trackers? I'm going to be showing you that right now. So let's start with using visual trackers if you are working on a savings goal. Now, one of the savings goals that I just completed in my personal life last year was reaching a Disney fund to take my son to Disneyland. So I used this tracker. Now, all of the trackers that I am showing today can be found in my free resource library. So when you are using a tracker like this, there's two different types of, well, there's many different trackers, but the two most common ones are using an icon or graphic tracker like this, meaning you have a bunch of little graphics to color in, or using more of a tracker that is lined style like this, and we'll be getting into that. So using the savings tracker is very straightforward. So what you need to do is you need to have a clear goal in mind. That's the first step, having that clear goal in mind. So let's say, for example, you have a $5,000 Disney goal. So the first thing that you would need to do on your tracker is either count the amount of graphics or count the number of lines to color in on your tracker. For each TBM tracker, we usually like to include how many graphics you have to color in or how many lines. So this one says 100 Mickeys. So that's how many graphics are on this tracker, 100 Mickey Mouses. So we take the 5,000 and divide it by the number of graphics we have to color in. Now you can take out your calculator, 5,000 divided by 100. Okay, that means 50. Each one of these Mickey Mouse heads equals $50. So what I personally like to do is I like to write in, so the first Mickey would be your 50, second Mickey would be 100, third Mickey would be 150, and you would go up in value from there, and you would do that all the way through. That's how I personally like to do it. So every single time you save $50. Now, I personally like to use these I just stole these from my son. My son was no longer using these. I like it. They're just the Crayola markers, Crayola Super Tips. And I just like all the different colors. So that's currently what I use to color in my trackers. But let's take yellow. Another little fun tip, I like to color in a different or use a different color for each contribution that I made or each debt payment that I make. It's just fun to see. So for instance, or maybe for my debt, when I was doing my debt charts, I would use a different color for every month. So I could visually see the progress I was making from month to month based on the colors. So let's say, for instance, when you are doing a savings tracker, so you saved $150 in the month of January. So then you would just color in your graphics to the 150 mark. So that is the progress that you made in January. Now let's take the green, and let's say in February you got to $200 in your savings account. So you're going to color to the 200 line. So pretty straightforward, coloring up to that dollar amount or balance in your savings account. Let's go over what this looks like when you are using a graphic tracker like this for debt. When you use a graphic or icon type of visual chart on your debt payoff journey, one of the things I want to make very clear is that you are going to want to track the current balance of your debt, not the interest, not your payment. So I'm going to say that again. When you're using a visual tracker to track your debt payoff progress, you are only tracking your current balance, not the interest, not your payments. So for instance, in this example, if I owed $3,316, like on a credit card, and I made, say, a $10 payment, but that only knocked my balance down to, say, $5 because the other 5 went to interest. So you're going to color into the 3311 line or graphic, because you don't want to color in the total $10 that you made. You want to color into your current balance amount, which is the 3316 minus the $5. So you want to wait for your payment to post to your debt account. And then when it does, you can check your new balance. that is what you're going to color to on your chart, is that current balance, not necessarily the payment that you made. So let's work through this. Now, another thing to mention, so on this icon chart, we're assuming we have a 3316 balance. Now, there's 100 total stars on the sheet. Each star, if we take the 3316 divided by 100, that's 33.16. Now, with our savings, you can see we're using fun round numbers, but with debt, you sometimes have some weird balances. So what I like to do is I like to round down to the nearest dollar. So 33.16, I'm saying each star equals $33. And then the difference between your two last stars is always a little bit higher than your base amount, the 33, because we're rounding down. And I'm okay with that. So let's just say we currently owe 3316, and let's say we made a $100 payment, but our balance only went down to 3230. So in this example, our total debt is 3316, and let's assume we make a $100 payment, but our balance only decreased by $75. So that means that when we go to check our new balance after making that payment, it's only at 3241. Remember, some of our payment's going to go towards interest. So you're only coloring into your new current balance. Okay, so that means if our new balance is 3241, we can color in this star. Okay, so we got that star. And we can color this star. But we can't color the next star because our balance isn't at 3234. It's at 3241. So you can see that I am going ahead and I'm coloring in as my balance gets lower on my debt until we get up here to the very top. So that's how you would use an icon type of chart. So you want to know your balance and you want to know how much each icon represents by dividing it by how many there are. So you're going to take your total debt divided by how many icons there are, and that will give you your base number. So in this case, 33. Remember, when you are using trackers for debt, you're only tracking your current balance, not the interest and not your payments. And that's why I always recommend filling out these types of trackers at the end of the month, or after all debt payments have been made and those payments have been posted to your accounts, because then you'll have your updated new balance when you go to update your trackers. So let's look at a kind of different type of tracker. When I had debt, I like to use these line type of charts. So what you're going to do on these charts, you can fill them out a couple of different ways. Now, I don't have a lot of these line charts, but debtfreecharts.com, I'll make sure to link to her in the description of this video. Heidi has a ton of charts for you to use for free that look more like these line styles, if this is something that you're interested in. I personally like to use the icon. I like to see the little pictures that represent the goal that I'm tackling, but that's just me. So for these types of trackers, you can either put your 0 at the bottom, which shows as you fill it in, it's going to show the total that you have paid off, or you can do the 0 at the top, which is going to show you how much you have left to pay. So it's up to you on how you want to visually see the progress that you're making. If you want to see how much you have left to pay, or if you want to see how much you have paid off. It's up to you. So let's go ahead and use the same 3316 example. That's how much debt we have. I'm just using a truck loan type of tracker just to show you the line style. So in this example, there are 50 lines. you count the little lines here, 50 lines, which means that if we take our debt divided by 50, that's 66.32. Remember, I like to round down to the nearest number, so 66, that's my base number. So in this example, I want to see how much I have paid off. So I'm going to start with my 0 down here at the bottom. I'm then going to work my way up with my base number. So my base number is 66. So the first line on my tracker is 0, then 66, then 132, then 198. You're going to fill in the rest of these lines with the amounts towards your total, adding your base number each time. So 66, the 132 is adding 66, the 198 is adding 66. So you're just moving up these lines. So don't forget, because we're rounding down, the distance or the amount between these last two lines is going to be a little bit greater than our base number. So the last payment we're making on this tracker is $82 rather than 66. Like I said, I'm aware of that. I'm okay with that because I like to round and use the whole numbers. The same thing goes. You are tracking your current balance. And in this example, we have our 0 at the bottom, which means we're showing the total paid off. Let's say we have our 3316 balance. Let's say we make a $300 payment, but our balance only decreases by $200 because of interest. Which means that our new balance is sitting at 3116. So if we're showing the total paid off, our 0 at the bottom here, we can then go ahead and color into the 198 line because our balance decreased by $200. Remember, because our 0 is at the bottom, it's showing the total paid off. So I can color into this 198 line. So that's what I'm going to do. Whoop, I kind of colored over that line, but you would color into the 198 line. Now, let's say the next time you make a payment, your balance decreases by, let's say, another $100. So you would be able to color into the $300 mark, so maybe one more line. So with this, you're coloring how much you have paid off based on that balance decreasing. Here's how my favorite way to do it. So in this example, we have the same 3316 balance. And what I decided to do is I like to do every other line, which allows my lines to color to be a little bit thicker. So instead of every single one of these lines representing a number, I'm skipping a line. So 25 lines to color instead of the 50, and you can customize your line charts like that as well. Equals 132. My base number, each line is representing 132.64, or I like to round down at 132. I like to do my charts to show how much I have left to pay, not how much I paid off. So my 0 is going to start at the top. So I like to work my way down and up like this, but showing how much I have left to pay. So if we do the $500 example, let's say we make a $300 payment. Doing our tracker this way, we made a $300 payment and it decreased our balance by $200. Remember, we're tracking current balance. So that means our new balance is 3116, which means I can then color in to about this line. And sometimes what you can do, you can color in half a line. That's fine too. So 3116 is going to allow me to color in to about, so it's okay to do partial lines too. All right, and let's say Next month you make a payment and it decreases your balance to $3,035. So you're gonna be able to basically color to this line here. Remember, I like to use different colors representing the different months. That's just me though. Okay, so we're about right below that line there. So this is how you're gonna fill up and use this type of tracker. Your zero is at the top, your balance is at the bottom. This shows you how much you have left to pay, and you're only tracking your current balance, not your interest and not your payments. So that's how you're going to use this tracker. So that is a full video on how to fill out and use the different visual trackers for savings and debt goals. Now, a couple of tips and recommendations to help keep you motivated and to make sure that your goals and your progress are kind of front and center. I always suggest having a budget station. Now, if you're not familiar with budget stations, I'll make sure to link that video here. You can watch more about creating your own dedicated budgeting space and why that is so crucial on your journey. But like I said, I used to keep mine on like a cork board. All of these trackers were on a cork board, and I had debt goals up there, I had savings goals up there. So keep them in an area where you're going to see them. Don't tuck them away and say like a binder that you're not going to access for months and months and months and months. Keep updated with your visual trackers. So I like to update my trackers at the end of every month or at the end of your tracking period, after all savings contributions have been made and after all debt payments have been made and cleared on those accounts. So that's when I like to update mine. So also, big thing, keep them. Don't just throw them away. Keep them for that extra boost of financial confidence that you need sometimes on what can be a very long journey. If you found this video helpful, please like it and don't forget to subscribe. Do this before my dogs wake up. Okay. Okay, I'm doing the overview. Oh gosh. Ooh, your belly shot. My shirt doesn't even cover my belly.